I want to welcome everyone. Thank you for joining today. We're super excited to put this together. I'm going to just share a super brief intro into EGC and the team that's on the call today. Our goal is to help empower you all with new information as it happens. And I think nothing's moving faster than marketing, especially today. So the focus of today's session is on AI and what it means for all of us. The team is going to share some really useful insights and even take you through some live demos of AI applications. And then we're going to open it up to Q&A. First, who are we? I'm CEO of EGC Group. EGC is an agency. You can go back. I'll share a little bit about us. We are a full service agency with locations both in Long Island and Brooklyn. We do everything from analytics, research, insights, to execution in the form of creative ideas, media, analytics. We are research-based, data-based, and we execute flawlessly, working in all categories and really having an impact. And what drives us and our purpose is helping our clients have an impact to their customers. Our average tenure is usually 12 years or more. So we've seen a lot of things and we're seeing a lot of changes today, which is why we're here. And the last thing I'll say before I turn it over to the panelists, we just recently launched a new tool called the EGC Edge, and it essentially gives you everything you need to have a competitive advantage. All of the actionable insights, media research, if you want to learn kind of what your competitor is doing and where and what they're spending and what you need to do to get ahead, the Edge is an awesome resource that also is leveraging AI. So with that, I'm going to introduce our panelists. First, starting with Max Ross, more specifically, is our digital account manager and also our AI lead. And I will thank him because he's been the conductor of this orchestra and amazing at putting everything together. And then next we have Christopher Canadeo, and he's the director of analytics. He leads a lot of our strategy and insights and has some amazing things to share. Michael DeMarco, who leads our SEO at the agency. There's a lot of conversations around AI and SEO and what does it all mean, and he's going to share his insights today. And then last but not least, Rich DeSimone, who is our VP of Creative. He is the brains behind a lot of the campaigns that you see from the agency, from everyone to Kiss, to Brother, to all of our optical clients. He's got all the great ideas and has some really cool demos to share. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to Max.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that introduction, Nicole. So good afternoon, everybody, and thank you so much for attending. So using artificial intelligence is very important for achieving operational efficiency, especially in today's fast-paced and digital environment. It's an incredibly powerful, but also very misunderstood tool. So what is AI? So AI, or artificial intelligence, is a group of technologies that enables computers to imitate how humans think. This technology has a vast amount of use cases, which we'll explore later in this presentation. Most new products are flawed, and AI is no exception to this. When using this tool, you do need to be cognizant of some risks, such as copyright infringement, misinformation, and even challenges that we're not even aware of yet. It is important to know that in its current form, AI should be a complement or supplement, not a replacement for most of your workflow. But before we begin our deep dive into what AI is truly capable of, we need to learn the lingo. So the current boom in all things AI came from breakthroughs in what's called machine learning. And this involves training computers to perform tasks that are based on examples rather than traditional programming from, let's say, a human. The type of AI, which is making headlines, and in some cases even writing them too, is generative AI. And what this does is it basically remixes bits from the digital world to create something new or newish. It could craft illustrations, text, or even functional code. We also have large language models. So large language models are a type of machine learning model which operates by learning patterns and structures from huge data sets. We're talking hundreds of millions of parameters. By processing this data, the model develops a deep understanding of how we speak in the language, and it can generate contextual and coherent responses. So the most renowned large language model is ChatGPT. So with over 1.6 billion users, it's billion since its introduction, ChatGPT is basically omnipresent. The CEO of ChatGPT's parent company, OpenAI, labels it as a true printing press moment. And it is important to note that these systems and these programs are going to become increasingly efficient, usable, and capable. So as a result, companies should create some training programs to educate their workforce to use AI effectively to supercharge their existing workflow. Let's discuss some applications of these large language models. And this is very top line. Again, we're going to discuss this more in depth as we go into the presentation. So first we have copywriting. By briefing a large language model like ChatGPT correctly, you can create content at scale in a way that humans can't do. You could generate hundreds of words a minute for blogs, which of course you could then refine, but the output is unmatched. We also have front-end development. So large language models can generate and even autocomplete code, and they could even debug code as well. So obviously, this drastically decreases development time. Next, we have research. By prompting a large language model with a topic, you can ask for relevant research, which cuts down the time that you take for scanning the internet and pulling relevant sources for what you need to do. And lastly, we have graphic design. So large language models synthesize a variety, all this information from the internet based on winning designs, and it synthesizes into, a refined set of outputs. And by using these outputs as inspiration, you can create more winning designs. So now that we've had this top line overview of these large language models and ChatGPT in particular, let's go through an example of how this thing works and what we could use it to do. So here we have a task. I need you to draft a blog post about the importance of a healthy weight loss for a healthcare company. This is something that I do quite often. So first, we need to ask ChatGPT to assume an identity or profession. This kind of prompts it into getting into the mindset that it needs to adapt or inherit in order to produce the best output. So in this case, we're asking it to act as a copywriter for a healthcare company. Next, let's define the target audience and set the constraints for the prompt that we're producing. So here we have the target audience for this blog post is women over 50. What are they looking for? Easy, sustainable approach to weight loss. And now also let's set the constraints. So what should the blog be about? How long should it be, et cetera, et cetera. So we want this blog post to contain relevant keywords that relate only to weight loss and healthy living. And we also want this blog post to be under 500 words. Again, you can add as many constraints as you want, the more specific, the better. So by drafting this prompt, you're going to get an output. And the good thing about ChatGPT is you could actually leverage your previous conversations to refine the output that you receive. So in this case, let's say, the blog doesn't sound as professional as you'd like it to, and it doesn't highlight an aspect that you want to bring to light more. So here we have an example of how we might address this. So we explain the problem. The tone of this generated blog post is too informal. Let's try again prompting the AI to give us a new output. And then we need to explain what the tone should be. So the tone should be personable yet professional. And then we also have another comment that we want to place more emphasis on a relationship between obesity and heart disease. And by adding this critique, we should be able to refine the output to something that we like, and then we can refine, of course, and then that we could eventually use. And it's also important to keep experimenting with this. So ChatGPT is very much a trial and error process. And your first prompt is not likely, or is more than likely not going to be perfect. So keep experimenting with the prompts. Of course, I say this all the time. This needs to be proofed by someone who knows what they're doing. This should only be for inspiration. But eventually, you'll get an outcome that you're mostly pleased with. And also you should save your successful prompts for future use because it's always good to repurpose them. And with that, I will pass it along to Chris.
Thanks, Max. So when we think of AI in media, these are kind of the three general takeaways currently now that we are really kind of gaining the most for these LLMs. I'll start with customer analysis and insights. So there has definitely never been more information out there in the ecosystem about customers. This information can be leveraged in a number of ways, but first kind of utilizing ChatGPT is a great way to kind of not only support what you already know about your customers, but also maybe have some more deep research on what potential customers could look like in the future and different kind of external factors that could change your customers from switching to somebody else or can really kind of help build that brand loyalty. Automated optimization. So this is more so in the realm of campaign execution. So media buying, bidding strategies, real-time campaign performance optimizations, all of this will be completely changed with AI. It will still need the guidance of a media planner and organizer, but it will be kind of working hand in hand with the media planner and using these AI tools to make changes in real time based on the vast amount of information that is out there. And the third, which I think is the most important, is it's all about the audience. So audience segmentation, personalization. So a lot of the kind of media buying and the AI focused changes are around the audience. So where are they coming from? What are they doing on their on your website? Who are they speaking to? So all of these kind of different sentiments, whether they show up in customer reviews, whether it's kind of the media that they're consuming outside of your general website and business, all of that is super important. And it's kind of out there to be customized. And it's up to us to leverage AI and use these tools to kind of streamline this customization and to be more granular and to increase conversions. So in the realm of media planning so far, to be completely candid, LLMs are not great seasoned media planners. We've tried many times to kind of put in different sort of prompts in ChatGPT to help our current clients, and the insights have been very broad. So this is, again, good for us because it shows that expertise is still required at this kind of current stage. But I do think that future AI developments will make kind of, whether it's LLMs or kind of different media AI tools, much easier to get deep granular insights on media performance by channel. So if we look to the right, we see kind of organic traffic, paid advertising, whether it's Google, CPC, and email, are all channels that were acknowledged by ChatGPT, but not necessarily really, I would say, different plans that were recommended. So it's something that, again, will be kind of continued to be tweaked. What I predict is that this will kind of be taken over by Bard AI, because Bard AI is kind of Google's answer to ChatGPT, and they're working kind of to seamlessly integrate that with Google Analytics 4. So Google Analytics 4 will kind of have Bard AI immersed in it, and then from there you'll be able to ask it specific questions on media performance, and more importantly, it will give you specific and detailed answers to your specific campaigns. And better yet, hopefully down the road, it will also give you kind of insights that you weren't necessarily asking it to do, and again, would kind of resurface different areas of opportunity that you didn't consider, whether it's a new channel, new customer, etc. So as far as predictive modeling, this is kind of an AI-centered pathway through Google Analytics 4. So this is currently available, but it's in beta, and as far as rolling it out and perfecting it is something that will kind of we'll be accustomed to at this stage, but it will grow with Bard AI and different kind of tools as they all kind of grow together and refine. But as it currently stands, you're able in Google Analytics 4 to identify top customers and likely converters. All of this is to be used directionally. This is no kind of golden template on who to go after, but it is really exciting because this is kind of the first iteration of a predictive model in Google Analytics. So it's definitely worth experimenting and worth playing with in Google Analytics 4. And as I said, similar to all these AI models, it will only continue to get better. And this will get better, I believe, specifically with kind of different audience creation. So the more you're able to customize your audience in GA4, you can set predictive models that cater to that specific audience. And once you kind of have a real pinpoint on who your customers are, high performance customers, and you can pinpoint them, then you can really kind of accelerate the amount of growth and like desired outcomes from that specific group. So a lot of interesting things ahead, but definitely as far as what we can play with now as media professionals, it's Google Analytics 4 and ChatGPT directionally. So as far as how we are combating this as an agency, we came out with Edge. So Edge is a competitive analysis tool that first kind of understands the digital landscape or the business landscape with TV, digital, search, social, so any channel, the competitive landscape for you as a client and your business and how you kind of currently sit in the ecosystem. And then once we kind of, and again, we work with kind of a lot of different data partners to get this understanding of who's spending what your competitors are doing. And then kind of once we have this understanding of how you fit in the general kind of competitive realm, then we can forecast and predict using our AI-focused proprietary technology and modeling to kind of see what the outlook will look like further down the road. So in 6 months, 12 months, how your business will grow in comparison to your competitors. And we could also detect for seasonality and use advanced analytics to see emerging threats. So this is something we're really excited about. Definitely took a while to put together, but we definitely are really looking forward to kind of utilizing it for clients and seeing what it can do in this kind of new AI-focused industry that we're in. And then another component to EGC Edge is the customer to brand analysis. So this is something as well. So we have kind of our media spend and media ecosystem, but more so, again, it's more important than ever to think of the customer. So we have our own tools for calculating brand value and in fact, there's in components like customer reviews, lifetime value of a client, and other external factors. So it's obviously extremely important, not just who comes to your website, but also what they're thinking of your brand, reviewing what they have to say about it, even out in the social ecosystems with social listening tools. So it's kind of different components, whether it's what you're spending versus others, but also how you're perceived in the general market, your brand versus others. So all of that is wrapped into one with Edge, and also it will come with a media plan to follow. So there are actionable next steps on how you can conquer the competition in this new age. And then just quickly, so AI CRM applications, pretty similar to media at the moment with some slight differences. So conversational AI and voice assistance. So any sort of chatbot on your website, it will be able to interact with your customers a lot more normally than what chatbots currently do. It will be as if you have kind of a customer representative or someone to speak to, with it being not a real person. So definitely that's a benefit of LLMs. AI-powered predictive analytics. So this not only will take form in Google Analytics 4, but also Salesforce, HubSpot. So a lot of kind of the CRMs are kind of doing this at the same time, where they're kind of taking the customer data that we allow them to have and trying to predict kind of what are the next customer moves and what kind of, what are they looking for in your product and what probabilities they are to be recurring customers and what offers currently resonate the best with them. And then similar to the natural language processing, NLPs, this is significant for CRMs, again, because it takes the customer feedback. So customers are putting their information out there and letting you know their opinions. So it's about time that we have a processing model that will kind of take in all of the customer sentiment and definitely can translate to different creative and different media. So creative works best when you're listening to your customer, and it's never been easier to kind of utilize AI and to really leverage what customers want. And with that, I will pass it over to Mike to go over the future of search.
Thank you. So both Chris, as we get into a portion involving search, there's two things that both Max and Chris had addressed. You're going to hear me say it a few times. You're going to continue to hear it in different ways, which is one, the personalization aspect of AI and how it can be used to custom and tailor experiences individually for your needs. But then additionally, it's that human touch is always going to be needed. So with those two things in mind, we're going to be walking through kind of the impacts of AI on SEO and the general landscape and how that's going to change, and some ways that it can be used and some ways that it can be avoided, and taking a close look at how the customer experience and the customer journey is changing. So as I said, one of the biggest changes in SEO is going to be the way that personalization allows people to browse the web. So we've seen this for a long time. It's become more prevalent, whether it's Netflix or the ads you see on Google, and now it's dipping more into search. So if you think about the typical user journey that people usually have when they visit websites, and maybe they're in the research stage, you're looking for a new set of headphones, a new laptop, maybe you're looking for some information on medical advice or procedures, and that's kind of our little screenshot there that we'll dip into a little bit as an example, a case study, if you will. But typically you would be bouncing between multiple different searches. You'd have to go back and forth between different websites, different pages, different variations of your search to try to find the information that you're looking for. It might not always 100% answer the query that you're trying to get to. And so as you're in this research phase, you might even come across conflicting information if you're bouncing between different websites. With AI and tools like ChatGPT or Google's Bard chat feature, now not only can you circumvent that whole process where you don't need to see a search engine results page ever. Now, not only can you get custom results tailored to you, so in this example, and this was something I was legitimately looking up, hey, I'm experiencing some pain that feels like burning around my kneecap. What could that possibly be? You could get as specific as you like. And the results can now be referenced to previous conversations that you've had. So if you want to drill down further and further to get as niche as possible with your particular problem, with your particular research, AI can do that with the ability to always go back and reference conversations that you had previously. And the interesting thing is that Bing actually encourages having these more specific searches. So if we move forward just a little bit, on Bing's own webpage, if you try and use their AI tool that's powered by ChatGPT, they actually intentionally emphasize that the more precise you are, the better answers that you're going to receive. And I can't emphasize enough that it's all done without ever needing to see a single website. They will be referenced, but it's never the same as what you get with, say, Google's search engine page. So AI can answer questions more personally, and as SEO experts, what we're told often to do is try to find those long tail keywords, try to find those specific searches. Yes, you're narrowing down the overall search volume and the users that will find you, but the idea is that you'll have easier competition. There'll be less websites trying to compete for those longer searches. And if AI can answer those same questions with more precision, then there's a clear appeal there. But then the question gets asked, what's going to be the actual effect on your website? If you're trying to bring traffic and users to visit to you, how might that get impacted? And definitively, there will be drops in overall traffic. You're going to see less impressions. You'll probably see a less click-through rate, and you will see less overall visits. And this is very similar to what we saw with the implementation of voice search, because now users no longer need to go on their phones or on their computers and type in. We could simply ask Siri or Alexa or Google, and we'll be able to retrieve our results that way. It never takes us to a specific website, and that website never gets traffic attributed as a result. So now with AI, that's further extended even more. And what you are competing with grows even higher, because there will be snippets, there will be URLs that, whether it's Google's own Bard tool or if it's Bing's search, there will be URLs and references that are listed, but that's going to be dramatically smaller than what you would ever get with the now endlessly scrollable Google pages. If you notice, you can just keep going on and on. So you're now competing with what used to be hundreds to now getting into those top 3 positions, which is always the goal, but it's more competitive than ever. especially when a lot of those resources that you might find are going to be the highly trusted websites, whether it is a WebMD. So if you're a small medical practice competing against WebMD, they're going to have the domain authority. They'll likely be used as the reference by Google's AI tool. Or most searches versus, say, Wikipedia with the endless amounts of information and backlinks and domain authority that they have is going to be one of your competitors for those top 3 spots. And obviously this will be separated by verticals and your specific categories and how granular your business might be. And in this example here, we actually looked at just further exemplifying how much you can narrow down your results. I took the previous information where Bing was able to, or ChatGPT was able to give me a list of possible conditions. And I said, hey, compare the difference between the one that you listed and the 4th one that you listed. And if we wanted to get even more specific than that, I could start asking for treatments and possible at-home remedies for it. I can tell it to go back to reference what was the 3rd and the 1st one that you said, or the 2nd and the 5th, so on and so forth. And that information is always accessible. So it's important to note that, at least in its present state, search engines are not forcing users to utilize these tools. And while we still haven't seen the full rollout for Google's Bard technology, at least with Bing and its implementation of ChatGPT, there's actually 2 ways that you can reference information. You can use your traditional search bar, or you can get the AI-assisted results. Now with Google, and this screenshot on the right was pulled directly from their I/O conference, the whole entire screen is mostly taken up. There's AI automatically generated prompts that are at the bottom. And if you think about how search traditionally was handled, you would have map packs, featured snippets, answer boxes, and so much more information that was all packed into the top of the screen. And that's not even considering the paid portion, where typically your first couple results would be paid advertisement. Now, all of that is not only getting pushed further down, but it's going to be increasingly more competitive because users are not going to be scrolling as much. And I referenced how there is some references that Bing or Google will pull up. You could see that with those 3 listings on the top right there in the Google panel. But again, you're competing for just those 3 spaces versus where users would traditionally see 5, 7, they might scroll down to 10. As we know, the majority of users typically stick to the first 10 results or the first page of Google. Specifically, when it comes to paid search and the effects that we might see there, Google makes money when you choose to click on one of those search results, but just like organic, that is getting pushed further down the screen. And so the overall landscape has changed dramatically. And while it's still speculative, and this is just some predictions that we can make on our end, it is possible that e-commerce is going to find new, unique opportunities larger than ever before, where some other categories might actually become more hidden or harder to find. And specifically, we do know that Google in particular is putting a lot of their engineers towards making sure that shop functionality is improved across Google, with the ultimate end goal where you no longer need to visit Amazon or visit Best Buy or any other websites in order to make a transaction. So for those categories where you're selling specific products, you can now do it directly for Google, which, and purely prediction, may mean that Google is going to put less of an emphasis on paid search results and more of an emphasis on those shopping functionalities. It's also possible that we might see in the early stages, Google is going to probably avoid any kind of paid implementation into their chat feature in order to gain trust and gain users. And users will want to use the feature more. They might be hesitant if they know that there's paid results that are getting mixed in there, and they will find it untruthful for those that already don't trust the use of AI to begin with. But as people become more comfortable, they may begin to implement it more liberally in the future. And a particular big implementation when it comes to search engine optimization is always that content is king. So a lot of users are going to say, well, why do I need to spend so much time on copywriting if I could have an AI generate it for me? And as Max touched on in the beginning of our conversation, in the beginning of the webinar, it can be used, but it's better to do it more like an assistant or more like an intern, if you will, rather than a leader. You never want to rely on it 100%, but by utilizing what is here, anybody, theoretically speaking, can become an expert on different categories incredibly quickly. So, for example, in my case, I don't know much about law or attorneys, or in this specific example, elder law, right? And so if I'm looking for wills, trust, and estates, and I need to write content for a client that might be trying to promote that side of their business, thankfully, I can have 24/7 a writing assistant that's available to help supplement my knowledge. And again, all with the convenience that we talked about before, where I can reference past conversations, where I can get as specific as I need to in order to find the results that I'm looking for. So the general process that you go through, you can first start off by finding some very broad categories, and the examples 1 through 5 that you can see here are incredibly baseline. But we can use what we know in order to narrow that down to more specific results. So next, what we would do is start with that broad keyword, find one that we like, and we can do some keyword research. So we have a overhanging category, but are people actually searching for this? Are people actually interested? What does the trend look like? Is there growth in that category? And if we could find that, yes, absolutely, estate planning lawyer is a growth opportunity, there's some keywords in there that we can utilize. Now we can start using that in order to find some of the broad topic ideas. And this would be your main H1s, the main blog headings, if you will. And we could find ones that fit within our category. And now we start branching into those long tail keywords. There's more specific searches. So with all of this, it's still important to make sure that while yes, you are, the landscape will turn to become more competitive. Your goal, if you are writing content, is to always continue to provide the most informative, the most professional, the most useful content that you possibly can. This has been Google's guidelines for, most of modern search, and it will continue to do so. So once we find our overall topic, our main heading that we want to pilot all of, our blog with, then we can start to even map out a specific content outline. So if we jump ahead just a little bit, with the use of AI, we're then able to find a exact template that we can follow. And that will come with all of our subheadings. It will come with categories within those subheadings. And we could constantly tweak and change in order to get the right formula that works for exactly what we're trying to find. This way, we don't have to spend time. So when we talk about how AI can help to expedite processes, once we have our subject, now we don't need to spend time trying to find all of these very niche categories, going through hundreds, if not thousands of keywords to try to find those opportunities. Then comes with the content planning. All of that can be done for us, but we can't rely on the overdependence. Notice how nothing here with this example is actually writing the content. That's when you're going to need your professional and your authoritative opinion in order to provide that useful information that Google is ultimately looking to tailor to users to provide them the best experience. So as we catch up back here, why don't you want to have AI do the entire thing? And there's a couple reasons for that. For starters, most people are aware of the issue. There's cases out there where people were, quote, playing Jedi mind tricks on the AI, and they were able to make it tell them how to do illegal acts, specifically hot wiring a car. So there's many ways that AI could be manipulated. It's not infallible. And even Google's own Bard, this PC World did an experiment where they were testing Bard's technology early, and they were looking for facts on Google's phone, Google's proprietary phone, the Pixel. And Google Bard actually got that information incorrect, excuse me. Now, while most of it was proper, most of it was the right information, it got the screen size wrong. And if it could do something with Google's own technology, then it can do it in other areas as well. And the more granular that you get with the type of information you're looking for, the more likely you are to find those incorrect examples. So for example, in this case, that top screenshot that you can see, I was actually trying to get information on the use of active versus passive voice. And I was trying to get ChatGPT to correct my writing. And once I pressured it and tried to ask for more information as to why it thought my particular sentence was incorrect, it backtracked and said, actually, I got this information incorrect. So that's a real study of when I was trying to use the feature myself. And the other important thing, specifically when it comes to SEO, writing valuable content is the most important. And that's always going to be done by a professional because AI does not yet understand how to use EEAT principles. And for those of you who might not know, EEAT are the standardized guidelines that Google themselves have put forward to all of us in order to make informative content. It's the guidelines that whenever we put out a blog or a web page, we want to follow, and it's how Google measures the authority of certain websites that tailors heavily into where they will get ranked in search. AI can't write with EEAT in mind, only someone such as yourself can do that. Another great case study for how AI can be leveraged is with coding. Theoretically speaking, if you had the knowledge, the patience, and the know-how, it will take a lot of tweaking, but you can theoretically make an entire website by utilizing AI-produced code. It's not yet there yet where that's something that you probably want to do, but for smaller cases such as schema markup, which help to provide featured snippets in Google, and it might very well be utilized with some of those small references that AI or Google Bard's chat is using, chat feature. You can use schema markup in order to get things. For example, one of the easiest cases is a specific location. You can mark it up with the hours that your business is open, the location, the name of the business, and all of that will help to appear more prominently in, say, Google's map pack. You can use AI in order to write that code for you. So as previously, it would be a very manual process where you need to sort of plug and play. There's some on-page front-end tools that you can use. There's a variety that are out there, but it's a pretty time-consuming process, especially if you get into more complicated forms of schema. Location is a very baseline and one of the more simple uses. But instead, I could simply type into ChatGPT and mention, hey, I have a business. This is the name. These are the hours. You look for the particular features that you might need to include, which you can ask ChatGPT what those might be, and then plug in that information and it will spit out beautifully written code for you that's accurate with about 80% accuracy, the 20% being for more complicated cases or where you need to add in additional manual input before it's fully ready to go. And specifically with this example, it's very easy to then take that information and plug it into some kind of a testing tool. Google has their own proprietary one that will then make sure the code is correct, provides the information that you're looking for. You could even preview how your result might look in Google search and then implement it onto your website. So with that, we will move to Rich.
Awesome, thanks. And I just want to caveat that we did not plan to channel our inner Steve Jobs and all dress in black. This was a pure coincidence. I don't want to mention that. I just want to clarify that. Thanks, Michael. I love listening to these guys talk because they get me so excited. I everybody's still, exploring all these things. And when I hear everybody talk about how they're using it, it really gets me excited. This is how we're kind of using it in the creative space right now. We are using it for some writing that some of the team has spoken about, but we're also using it for some visual things. And we've been testing it here. So we have a client who is in the diet space and they often have recipes and have the need for images for those. And traditionally, the way to go about that was to either set up a photo shoot, which obviously takes a lot of time and energy and effort, or Photoshop things by finding a conglomerate of images. all of which worked in the past, but this allows us to be really, really like in the moment. We could do this really quickly. And what DALL-E does, which is an OpenAI tool that we're using, it allows you to create prompts and create outputs like you see on the left there. So what I put in there was strawberry, arugula, and lemon. And I asked for it because we have very strict brand guidelines and we wanted it to match other content to be show it on a white surface. And that's what it spit out, which is really cool. And it gives you a ton of options. And I'm going to show you a little bit about DALL-E in a minute and give you a little bit of a live demo. But the piece on the right, which is cool, this was already kind of baked in Photoshop, and a lot of my team was using this in some capacity, but it's gotten a whole lot smarter and a whole lot easier to use. So the image on the left is from one of our brand ambassadors. Of course, she took it vertically, which everybody takes photos vertically. But for the sake of an Instagram post or some other place we want to use it, in the shape of a square would be awesome. And, so we're able to put this into an AI software, and it actually creates more information on the right there. So all those bushes, the sidewalk there, that was all created just simply by asking to improve the existing photo, as well as on the left. So really cool. And again, a big time saver for the way things are traditionally done. What I love about AI and why I embrace it wholly is it really helps us bring our ideas to life faster, smarter, bigger. And so, it helps us do our job better and be able to move on to other things that require, our thinking and brains on. So with that, I just want to give you a quick rundown of DALL-E and see it in action, because I do think it's impressive to see in person. So I just want everyone can see my screen here. This is DALL-E. These are some outputs that were done by others, and this is what the search was. So someone wrote 3D render of cute tropical fish in an aquarium tank on a dark blue background, digital art, and that's the output. Something here, a Van Gogh style painting of an American football player. So super cool stuff, a high quality photo of a monkey astronaut. I mean, you could get crazy. I got a little crazy. I'll show you what I did, but I just wanted to show you quickly, if we needed a recipe for shrimp tacos, for example, with cilantro, and this is my spelling will hopefully be perfect, and peppers. And our client really has a very strict sort of brand guideline. We want it on a white plate. Let me fix that. And we want it on a white surface. We simply put that into here. Fix that. And hit generate. And literally in the time it takes for that little bar to shoot across the screen, we will see a bunch of options. So there you go. Pretty cool. Has all the ingredients there, gives us multiple options to use, which is great. And then you might be asking, well, we could do that with stock, right? We could put that into Shutterstock or whatever, and we could get something there. So I just wanted to show you quickly. So here's what you get from Shutterstock, which it's okay. It's not great. I mean, that doesn't look super appetizing in my opinion. And what we get here really is a much cleaner output. So that's that. I've done it for other pieces here. I did the search here for cucumber, melon, mint, and spinach on a cutting board, and it gives you multiple options. So in this case study here, where we needed it for recipes, that's how, those are the great outputs we get out of it. And then I've even used it for things like, I tried to get a little bit more broad with it. We were thinking about using it if we wanted to create a character. I thought, hey, can we create a Windows spokesperson? And it gives you these great little guys. So it really does, the options are really endless. I asked it to create an avocado, a 3D realistic avocado walking down the sidewalk, and it gives you these. So it sounds a little wacky, but it really is great. I also thought of uses, for blogs. If someone has a blog and they need an image, if the topic was the future of exercise, I wanted an astronaut jogging on a treadmill in space, and these are the outputs that get, this one would probably be my favorite. Some of these get a little weird. And that's just the tool still in its phases of getting better. If we wanted a blog about getting New York City healthier, I asked for a painting of the Statue of Liberty drinking a smoothie. Some of these are a little weird again, but like this one's pretty close. This one has 3 arms. I don't think we want a 3-armed Statue of Liberty. So it is a pretty cool tool, and I definitely see our team using this more and more. So I'll stop sharing, and Max, you should be able to go back to
Thank you.
webinar. Yep. So this is another tool we started leveraging. This is called K-Rock. For those of you in the 90s, that was also a radio station. But we love this. This creates video storyboards. And it really takes any of the direction we might have in our storyboard for scene descriptions and quickly turns it into a storyboard. And, we make storyboards all the time here. If any of our clients are on, they're familiar with seeing them. There's 2 ways we've been doing it. The one way is we find pictures and images that sort of seem like what we're looking for, but they are pictures. Or for some of our other larger productions, we have a storyboard artist who usually custom illustrates a storyboard. And this allows us to give custom illustrated storyboards really to anyone who we're working with on video. And it really does help bring our vision to life in a more clear way. So here's a quick video demo of it to see it in action. This is the software K-Rock. As it starts a new project, those are the frames there. We paste in the stage direction there, which it added it underneath. And then we can pick. We could pick from pencil. We could pick from watercolor, a 3D rendering, photorealistic. And then once we pick one, I like pencil, and click generate. Those are all the frame descriptions there. So it says, we see a close-up of dark apartments, people enter the room, someone's going in a closet, and it quickly drafts a pretty tight storyboard. And what I love about this is it allows the clients to really focus on the communication and our vision, and they don't get tripped up when we're trying to find stock or other images that it might not be exactly what they're envisioning. So this really helps us hone in and focus on an idea. And it also is great because, like I said, this typically was an output of some of the higher end productions we do with storyboard artists. And this really brings it down to, every level of project, which is great. And then lastly, this one is.
I'm Anna.
So this one is a little creepy. We'll let the video play in a minute, but this is called Synthesia, which we've been exploring a little bit. This makes really cool video avatars. These are great for I wouldn't use this for everything. It has a little bit of it's still in its infancy, so it's a little bit still glitchy in terms of feeling totally real, but it's great for like a product explainer video, or if you have internal training video needs, where traditionally we would hire someone to come in, we would video them, and then we'd cut it together. This allows you to pick from an avatar. So they have a whole group of avatars that they've created, and then you can paste in our approved script, and they will literally speak it like you're about to see here. It's really cool. And it could deliver it in up to 60 languages, accents. So there's really a lot you can do with this. And then it even gives you the ability, if you had your own actor or a brand, for example, like a progressive who had a flow, you could make one of flow and then literally have prompts in there and make her say whatever you wanted. So if you got to a website or you needed it for other uses, you could even have a custom one, which is really cool. But we'll play this really quickly. It's short and it really sells it.
I'm an AI avatar. In this short video, I'll share with you the story of how I became an avatar and quickly explain the process of creating one. An AI avatar is a digital twin of a real person. For example, yours truly is an AI avatar of a real actress. The process of creating me started in a professional studio, where the real actress was filmed reciting a script. After that, The footage was processed by Synthesia's avatar producers, and after an AI abracadabra, a digital twin of the real actress came to life. And that's me. Coming also with the ability of speaking over 60 different languages and accents. The AI avatars you'll find in Synthesia are all digital twins of real actors. They have a contractual agreement with Synthesia to provide their likeness for business-related videos only. A team of content moderators makes sure that nobody breaks the rules, so it is impossible to spread misinformation, disinformation, or obscenity through videos created in Synthesia Studio. By the way, you can also create your own avatar by simply requesting one directly in the app. And that's a wrap of my short story. Now you can go try Synthesia Studio for yourself and save hundreds of hours while creating professional training.
Alrighty.
Cool. Yeah, so that's Synthesia.
All right, awesome. Thank you so much for that, Rich. Before we proceed, I promise I'm not a Synthesia avatar, but we'll quickly talk about AI's application for email marketing. And this relates more so to the front-end development code that's utilized to create these emails. So in the case of Salesforce, ChatGPT does know a variety of programming languages, including AmpScript and Apex Code, and other languages that are specific to certain CRMs. And this helps, again, drastically with development times and debugging existing code. So we have a little example here. I know it's quite small, but I'll just give you an overview of what this shows. So in this event, I had an error with an existing email code that was struggling to pull information from a certain data set. And all I asked ChatGPT to do was to act as a Salesforce programmer and debug the existing code. It sent me a few options, and through trial and error, I was able to fix the error and run it. And again, it should be noted that yes, ChatGPT can improve existing code, but you need to be well-versed enough to understand what to look for and how to improve it. All in all, these optimizations help save around 1 to 2 hours in development time for a personalized complex email. And even after testing some ChatGPT generated subject lines, we found that these have actually increased open rate quite substantially. So just another example of how this AI is helping streamline workflow and reduce hours. Okay. Of course, large language models, we've all said it, they're not yet perfect. And similar to traditional quality control methods, you need to check the work. Any output that is generated by an AI needs to be looked at and examined by a professional to make sure there are no inaccuracies and to make sure that it works in the event, in the example of code. Rich's point on Synthesia actually transitions nicely into the manipulated media or deepfakes that are generated by AI. We have this viral image that I'm sure many of you have seen of the Pope wearing a stylish puffer jacket. This is AI, and although this is more, whimsical, it is quite dangerous. Deepfakes have the ability to manipulate others, and they have the potential for wide-ranging and dangerous implications. And what's even more worrisome is that AI currently is not regulated that strictly in the United States. And lastly, we need to give credit where it's due. So again, AI works by synthesizing work that was created by humans. It's a lot of parameters, it's hundreds of millions of examples, but in the end, it is drawing from inspiration of things created by humans. So profiting from something that incorporates other people's work is not ethical. And as a result, we should use this as inspiration to generate more creative designs. Okay. And lastly, before we wrap, just to ease some concerns. So artificial intelligence is not equivalent to human intelligence. And what does that mean? AI is not going to be able to truly understand our human emotions. It can't replicate empathy, intuition, and creativity. Again, this is a tool and a supplement that is going to help you improve your existing outputs, not replace what makes people valuable. If we're talking about addressing misconceptions, AI is not going to be taking people's jobs anytime soon. Rather, I like this quote, ChatGPT is not going to replace you as a worker, Rather, a worker who is not taking advantage of these tools is going to be replaced by those who are utilizing AI tools. And I will pass it along to Nicole before we enter our Q&A session.
Yeah, I'm actually going to go straight into Q&A, actually, because we're getting close to time. But as I said at the beginning, we're not only using AI in all the applications you saw, SEO, email, media analytics, but we've also built our own solution called Edge, which essentially uses amazing data to get a sense of where competitors are, what they're doing, and what you need to do to get ahead. So please reach out to any of us to talk more about it. And with that, I am going to turn it over to Q&A, and please ask any questions. We know there was a lot covered, and if we were to really talk about AI, we'd be talking for days and weeks. So we tried to give you the best of the best, but please give us any questions, comments. I'll turn it to Max to be our Q&A moderator.
Awesome. For those of you who this may be your first Zoom webinar, you enter your questions and answers by going to the thin black bar at the bottom of, or top rather, of your Zoom window and just entering in a question. And we're going to do our best to answer it. So anyone who is participating, please drop questions. Okay, we have one question. So is a recording of this webinar available? Yes, we have recorded this webinar. We need to sort out the distribution, but do keep an eye out for a synopsis of this webinar soon. Let's see. Do we have any other questions coming in? Please don't be a stranger.
So there was one that came through and has been part of our previous sessions, as well as the question of copyright. So if I'm using DALL-E to generate images, who owns that image? And the answer is there's not a definitive answer, but we're advising if you are generating AI images to disclose it, but also know that anyone else can generate that same image versus creating your own where you own or when you buy stock. So the copyright's still a bit loose. It's still the wild, wild west in terms of legal, but it is going to get murky if you're using all these images and content and not disclosing what the source was.
Cool. We have a question about the relevancy of blogs. Mike, do you want to take that?
Yeah, of course. So I think that when it comes to blogs, they're still absolutely relevant. You have to keep in mind that there's a large segment of folks who either don't trust AI or aren't going to utilize the tools. Just keep in mind your particular audience base and your demographic. So when you consider writing blogs, you still need to be providing informative content, because if you're not, your competitors still will be. And you are going to inevitably fall behind. So when the users are in their research journey, they're going to be more inclined to utilize the chat functionality. But when they're in more of a purchasing state or they're ready to make a commitment, then they're going to be looking for specific individuals. And that's when they'll turn to websites. They might look back to traditional search, and they're going to be trying to find if you have the relevant information you're looking for, in which case blog content is going to be absolutely invaluable. Old ranking factors aren't gone.
And I see we have a question about the spread of information. Is there a safeguard to prevent this? So if you're talking about massive distribution of misinformation in terms of influence or to influence something, that is actually being talked about in Congress to avoid the rapid spread of misinformation. But if we're just talking about misinformation in the case of writing a blog or providing content, again, it needs expert review. You need to understand what you're looking for, and you need to be able to fact check it. So that's what I would touch on regarding misinformation. And then we also have, are we using any integrated online live chat tools for our clients?
I can take this one. So Yes, we do. Currently, I would say a lot of our online chats have been leveraged through CRMs like HubSpot, Salesforce. On their end, HubSpot and Salesforce are working to improve kind of their AI and their LLMs as far as responding to customers. So I would say all of it's still in development, but yeah, that's definitely something that I see having a big amount of change in the next couple of months.
Awesome. And we have one last question because we're at time. Rich, I think you could take this one. So outside of video avatars, how do you see this impacting overall videos?
Yeah, that's a good question. And we're looking at a lot of other tools. There's some that help with editing where it could take longer form pieces and cut them down into smaller pieces of content. So you could take like a 22-minute video, make it, multiple 20-second edits based on certain parameters. There's also some AI uses for voiceover recordings and options there, as well as some CG pieces. So there's a ton out beyond just the avatars that we're really excited about and we explore every day. My team is always looking at new pieces and trends that are out there for AI tools.
Perfect. And with that, we are just about at time. Nicole, do you want to bring us home? Well, I'm happy to end things out.
Just a big thank you to our panelists and thanks to our attendees for joining. Have a great day.
All right, excellent. Thank you, everybody.
You.
Thank you, everybody.